I said, good morning. I'm Cayetano Carvajo Martin. I'm working in Telefónica. I've been in Telefónica for 28 years, running different functions. I was CTO in Germany, in Telefónica Germany. I was CTO in Telefónica Mexico. And I ran a lot of corporate positions. What I'm doing now, I'm leading core transport and service platform in the technical corporate unit of Telefónica, what we call Global CTIO. And it is my pleasure to be here with you for sharing our views of how the network should support the metaverse. When talking about metaverse, we are meaning mainly XR and virtual reality and augmented reality that will impact mainly our network. So the first idea is that certainly the impact of the network will be relevant if what it is expected is fulfilled. There are tough requirements of the metaverse in our network. The first one is the technical requirement per each metaverse session, per each XR session. So you can see that we could expect by the end of this decade having full immersion with more than 1 gigabit per second in the throughput and the speed of each of the customer, and with requirement of latency till 5 milliseconds. This is much higher what we have today, and this will pose significant challenges to our network alone. But it is not only that. It is that the level of traffic will increase. It is not only that this 1 gigabit per second will stay for some time with the user, is that the time of immersion of each user will be high. So will increase the type of this immersion, even the number of hours that today the customer is in front of internet. So the session will be very long with this very tough requirement. So the level of traffic will increase a lot. It will be difficult to sustain this level of traffic and this level of requirement with the normal setup we have today. So we need to do things. Things like, for instance, thinking about profitability and prioritizing traffic and dedicating services to those services that are key in this metaverse side. Generalizing 1 gigabit per second and 5 millisecond latency for all the customers will be very tough. So we have to be selective. When can we expect that? Well, this depends mainly in the penetration of XR devices. What we can see is that at the end of the decade, from 2027 to 2030, the devices will be generalized. We'll have hundreds of millions of devices already by 2027. And then depending on the case, if it is more conservative or more disruptive, both from penetration of devices and requirement of these devices, the traffic could be multiplied by 13 from the traffic we had in 2021 till the traffic of 2030 could be multiplied by 13. So in this massification of XR, and this is a relevant challenge for our network. What shall we do in our network first for dealing with this scalability issue? First of all, in fixed site, because many of these metaverse sites will be used in fixed site, we have to increase the speed of our access. So we are providing FTTH with 1 gigabit per second with PON. We have to move to next generation XGS PON and providing at least 10 megabit per second. Remember that we can have more than one XR session at home, then you need a speed higher than 1 gigabit per second. For sure, in mobile, we have to continue implementing 5G and 5G SA, and the densification of mobile access will be needed for coping with this capacity challenge. Even we can think in small cells and in millimeter wave band cells if this traffic expectation will be fulfilled. But it will be very relevant, not only the capacity as such, and mainly downlink capacity that we are providing today, but also the requirement on uplink. Metaverse services, XR services, has a strong uplink requirement, and this will put in risk the capacity in the uplink. So we have as well to take into account the uplink when dimensioning. And as I said before, a key question from my point of view is the prioritization of quality of service for specific services. In this side, slicing will play a key role. We will see this later. We have talked about traffic, but it's not only throughput, speed of traffic, what is posing challenges for our network. It's also latency. Why we need reduced latency? First of all, because it is needed to offload compute from the device to the cloud to be able to simplify the devices. Why we need to simplify the devices? Mainly because usability. So having a lighter glasses, it is key for massifying XR services, but also for battery consumption, power, heat, and many other elements. So the compute of the device will be sent to the cloud, and then the latency of this connection with the compute remoted in the cloud is key. The other reason is many of these services, like augmented reality, need very low latency for changing the information when you are moving your head. I mean, the information to be displayed should change with the environment. As the environment changes fast, the information should change fast. So we need very low latency. We can have requirement of latency from 5 to 10 milliseconds. What shall we do for this? First of all, putting the application nearer to the customer. So edge computing is key. We need to integrate edge computing in our network and having it for metaverse services and offloading the compute of the XR devices. In mobile network, because we have a challenge in latency, mainly in mobile network, implementation of 5G standalone is key. This will bring the promise of low latency performance. So this is already covered in the access, but also we will need a slicing for guaranteeing that this session with latency requirement will achieve this latency requirement. And in the longer term, maybe we can move to more structural changes in the network, like time sensitive network in the future, including the transport. So we talk about speed, throughput, traffic, and latency, but there are some other topics that I think we should do for the metaverse services to work properly in our network. There are many capabilities of the network, like the connectivity in 5G or in fixed connectivity, like our capability for communication and for managing communication, the edge and slicing. That could help metaverse. And the way of helping the metaverse services should be through exposition. So this capability will be exposed in terms of APIs, service APIs, and then metaverse services will take advantage of these capabilities. You know that in February we launched the GSMA Open Gateway Initiative. This is an alliance among operators for having a common API, service API, standardized service API with a guarantee implementation roadmap of these APIs, and with a common business model for providing this API to developers. This will be key from my point of view for metaverse services. So having all the functionality of our network accessible through simple and easy to use APIs will be key for developers of the metaverse to take use of this, especially for these services that will be very dependent on the functionality of the network because of this very tough requirement that we will have in the network. I put several pillars of this for building these metaverse services, as you can see there. I would like to highlight some of them. The first one is slicing. So with the network slice, we can provide to each of the metaverse services the right quality of service. But what is slicing? Well, slicing is having the capability, having the logic portion of the network providing the right capability to the right service or to the right user or group of user. Will be a logical portion of the network that will provide this capability. With this, we'll have one group of users making use of one given services from one provider or from several providers, and then having a specific slice for metaverse service, providing the right throughput or latency or any other key requirement to be provided to that service. What are the attributes of slicing? Well, it has to be dynamic. So we need to create slices on the fly. We need to modify the slices on the fly, but also to delete the slices on the fly. We have to have slices with different attributes, and we can create these slices with the different attributes by the request of the application. We have to have simultaneous access. So each customer will be able to access many slices, and the slices will be isolated among them. Okay. In Telefónica, we believe that slicing is a key development from our network, and we are working a lot on this. We have been testing slicing for already a couple of years, and we are launching commercial MVPs for the slicing during 2023. This will be a static slicing, so a slicing provision and without any change. And then we will go to dynamic slicing later at the end of 2024 or beginning of 2025. Another pillar that will be relevant for metaverse services will be edge. As I said, we have to move application nearer to the users. Today, if the application is in the cloud, the latency will not be manageable for us because it will be outside of our network and will be higher than the requirement we have. For having 5 to 10 millisecond latency, we need to have the application in the network, so we have to use edge computing, and it is not needed to densify and distribute a lot the edge of the network, because at least in the country of the side of our main markets, having tens of edge points is enough for assuring the type of latency we are talking about. But at least we need the application to be implementing in each site. Our strategy for this is, well, let's deploy each site accordingly to the demand of the market. We're following telecom kind of law that is saying centralize what you can and distribute what you must, meaning till we have not a clear requirement from the market, we will not be distributing the edge as much as it could be. Okay. What other capabilities we can expose? Well, this is all the communication capabilities. Our Techo network are managing communication. We have, I mean, in the past we have circuit switch, we have IMS, and we have many other possibilities of managing communication. If you are thinking in XR services that should be interoperable among the players, you need a common management of the code. So the same way that we are managing today the current ecosystem of devices with communication, and you can see here smartwatch or industrial equipment or smartphones or whatever other device is able to use communication with the mechanism we have defined. You may think that having XR communication could use as well the same mechanism for controlling the communication. What are we talking about? For instance, IMS data channel. IMS data channel is a functionality that we will have in the network in the next future. It being standardized, and you can create an IMS session with the same requirement of security authentication and control that we have in the IMS channel, but with a much higher data throughput. We can as well having all the management of the call through web, for instance, with functionality like WebRTC or one number. So we can provide to the web application the control of the communication in an easier way. And we can think even in having holographic calls, the same way we are having video conference or voice call, we could go to holographic calls with a control element of the telecom networks. Okay, but these are quite generic ideas about exposure of the application of the functionality of the network. But let me go to very specific example that an API, a network API, could help metaverse. In fact, this is coming from conversation we have with developers and OTTs playing in metaverse services. This is the possibility of exposing an API for prioritizing the Wi-Fi in the Wi-Fi network, in the home network of a given customer, a given IP flow. Okay, so imagine you are at home and you want to have a metaverse service session, and there are other components of your family that are using your Wi-Fi network, and then you have not the certainty that your functionality will be that your flow will be successful. So you need a way of prioritizing inside your Wi-Fi network your IP session, the metaverse session. Well, Telefónica has defined an API for prioritizing the application in the network of the home of the customer that is in the Wi-Fi network. We're able to do so because we are managing our home devices. So Telefónica has defined their own devices with a common software in all the devices that are our customer. So we can prioritize a given IP flow, a given session within the Wi-Fi network. So if there's your children playing or streaming or whatever and consuming all the Wi-Fi network, this given flow will be prioritized, and then you will not have a problem with this XR session. Well, let me conclude. Metaverse requirement for the network will not be easy to achieve. I think this will be tough, both from unitary requirements for each session, but also when you consider all the traffic that you will have. So this will pose a clear scalability concern. In the network, we have to implement the right mechanism to help to meet this requirement, not only from having a more scalable network, but also having the ways for prioritizing and cooperating with metaverse services to provide the right performance to the specific services. And prioritization will be key, not only because if not, it will be difficult to scale, but also because of profitability reason. From our point of view, a clear mechanism for having this cooperation between metaverse and network will be APIs. I mean, camera APIs and NAS, the concept of network as a service, will be key. And with this exposing capability, pillars like slicing and edge will be key enabler from the metaverse services that could be enriched as well with all the communication capabilities that we have in our operator networks. Well, this all I wanted to share with you. Then I guess you may have question from this presentation. Yes.
So thank you very much. That was really interesting, and we do have two questions. And I've got some too. So first of all, do you expect a separate network slice for each mixed reality comms channel?
Sorry, you mean if we expect a specific slice for each of the XR services?
The XR, which I assume means it could be audio or video reality or enhanced reality or whatever. So yeah, so you're thinking that each will need a separate network slice to guarantee level of service?
Absolutely. Depending on the requirement of each of the services, you may need different requirements from the network. And if this is the case, then you will need a specific slice per each of the services. Yes, for sure. This is a key enabler for XR services.
Yeah, because we found out human beings are incredibly sensitive to any glitches or delays with whatever it is, reality headset on. It makes us feel sick or makes us disorientated or whatever. So, okay. And another question from the same audience member, do you see any issues, well, this is a biggie, with net neutrality prioritizing different flows in your network?
For sure, we have a net neutrality regulation that we have to fulfill. However, you can prioritize traffic following net neutrality. Depending on how you do that, all the implementation we are doing in network slicing, for instance, is following strictly the net neutrality regulation. And we have to follow that regulation. Certainly, it is possible. You can prioritize throughput for given customer, for instance, or you can prioritize with a specialized services. We are prioritizing, for instance, Volte today, and this is a specialized service. You can have the same rule for prioritizing holographic calls, just for putting one example. But it's clear that net neutrality is providing limits to what you can do from prioritization point of view. And the only thing is that we have to fulfill this regulation and these limits.
Yes, I quite liked somebody I was talking to a week or two ago who said that the current net neutrality rules were drawn up when email was a killer app. And if you think about it, that's true. And life's changed a little bit since then.
I think net neutrality regulation may change in future, but today we have to plan our evolution and our services taking into account the regulation we have. So we have to fulfill the regulation for sure. But I have a clear view that the net neutrality regulation may change in future. Yeah,
I think so. Okay, and another question. Do we need millimeter wave spectrum in industries and homes to fulfill metaverse requirements?
I think from scalability and traffic point of view, if the number I saw will be true, we will need any means for providing capacity in mobile network. In this point, I think millimeter wave could be a mechanism for providing this capacity. Not compulsory at home, because at home, the metaverse services will be using the fixed connectivity, but in public environment and enterprise environment, certainly millimeter wave band could be a solution. This poses some other challenges. I mean, the coverage of millimeter wave band is quite limited, and then you need to deploy a significant amount of small cells, so profitability could be a question, but certainly it is a tool that we will be using for providing further capacity to our network. Yeah.
So when what was Facebook and is now Meta first started talking about its ideas for the metaverse, it caused something of a panic within, or maybe not within Telco, but around it, about whether it would break 5G and so on. So my question is, if you've got a reality headset on, whatever sort of thing that is, you're not going to be walking down the street, really, are you? I mean, you're going to be at home or at your friend's home. And if you're using it for work, presumably almost all the time, you're going to be indoors. So it seems to me that burst of hysterics about it's going to break 5G was just not thinking very straight about how the metaverse might be used.
You're fully right. I mean, all the preliminary work we have been doing with OTTs and developers has been based mainly in fixed application, because the first usage of metaverse will be at home or our customer premises, not that much in mobile network. So yes, metaverse will be first using mobile. Fixed, sorry. Whenever the usability of the headset will be better, will be lighter, and will be normal glasses, we may expect this to be started to be used outside, and the mobile network will be part of the metaverse services. So this is not for the short term, but maybe for the medium term. And I have certainty that sooner or later, mobile network will has to support metaverse services, because the devices will be lighter.
And when you're talking about in the medium term, in terms of years, how far away are you thinking the medium term is? 3 to 5 years, or 5 to 10, or? I
think 5 to 10. A key development it is to take out the compute from the devices and putting in the cloud. And for this, the network should support tough requirement of latency. Okay, when you are putting your the compute outside of the device could be lighter and more usable. So normal glasses, for instance, could have metaverse services, XR services. So this is still to come, but maybe from 5 to 10 years, this will be the case. Yes.
Okay, so that surely puts more pressure on the operator in a different way, though, because if you're going to take the compute out of the device and put it on the cloud, and yet you need the really low latency, then you've got to get the edge in the right place.
Yes, as I said in the presentation, we will have the need of edge. We will have the need of having the proper latency performance of the network, and we will increase the throughput because all the compute will be outside, and then the rendering will be tough because you will not have that much in the device. Yes, challenges for the network are very clear.
Yeah, I think it's going to keep you all in a job for a long time. And we have a final question from the audience. Michaelis asks, Michaelis, I would say, have you done any estimates around what uplink and downlink speeds you'd need, how many gigabits per second, a holographic person-to-person call would need? So if we were holographs now chatting, as opposed to on Zoom, how big a difference in terms of bandwidth and speed would that make?
So this depends highly in the quality of the hologram. We have been testing hologram as simple as reconstruction of flat images or flat video that will be transmitted and constructed back again as an hologram. This has a requirement of throughput that we can assume today. But if you have a complete holographic call, you can go already today to several hundred of megabits. And if you go to full immersion, you can go even to 1 gig. Okay, we have been testing equipment with 300, 400 megs requirement, what is really difficult for our network today. So depending on the quality, you can have certain things that can be used with not that much speed today, but the evolution to higher quality will demand a significant throughput increase for sure.